The old leather box felt heavier than it should have in my hands as I sat in the lawyer's office, the air thick with unspoken tension. The reading of my father's will had gathered us all here, my mother, perfectly poised in her designer suit, my brother Marcus, already lost in his phone, clearly uninterested. To my son, Marcus, began Mr. Peterson, the family lawyer, his voice even. I leave the majority of my estate, business holdings, properties, and liquid assets totaling around $47 million. Marcus didn't even bother to look up from his screen, simply nodding as though it was all expected. It was, of course, the favored one, the Harvard graduate, the one who could do no wrong. To my daughter, Olivia, Mr. Peterson continued, his tone softening almost imperceptibly, I leave my personal watch collection, specifically, the broken PC, Philip stored in the study safe. The room froze. I could feel my mother's sharp intake of breath beside me, and Marcus's barely stifled laugh. A broken watch. After all the years I'd spent trying to prove myself to my father, graduating top of my class in engineering, building my own small but growing watchmaking business from the ground up, this was my inheritance, a broken timepiece? Is this some kind of sick joke? My mother's voice sliced through the silence, straining with disbelief. Henry's entire watch collection is worth a fortune. Why would he leave Olivia only the one that's ruined? Mr. Peterson shifted uncomfortably. The will is very clear, Mrs. Turner. The broken PC, Philip, is to go to Olivia. The rest of the collection, along with the other assets, belongs to Marcus. Marcus finally looked up from his phone, a smug grin spreading across his face. Well, that's fitting, isn't it? Dad always said your little watch hobby was a waste of time. At least now you've got something to tinker with. I gripped the leather box tighter, my fingers white with frustration. Inside was my father's most enigmatic possession, a vintage Peck Philip, said to have stopped working decades ago. He'd never allowed anyone to look at it, not even the country's best watch experts. The will is clear, I said quietly, my voice tinged with resolve as I stood. Marcus gets the millions, I get the watch. We're done here. Olivia, don't be difficult, my mother sighed, tapping her fingers against her designer handbag. Let's be reasonable, maybe we can arrange a monthly allowance for you instead. No, I said firmly, turning toward the door, the leather box cradled under my arm. I'll take what Dad left me, keep the money. Your loss, Marcus called after me with a chuckle. Enjoy playing with your broken toy while I run the company. I didn't respond. They wouldn't get it, because while they saw a useless, broken watch, I saw something far more intriguing. In all my years of studying horology and mechanical engineering, I'd never had the chance to examine my father's prized watch up close. He kept it locked away, only pulling it out late at night when he thought no one was watching. But I had watched him once, hidden in the shadows of his study. I saw how he handled it, not like an old, broken thing, but like a secret waiting to be uncovered. Now, in my small workshop above my watch repair shop in downtown Boston, I had the chance to unravel its mystery. The leather box sat before me on my workbench, bathed in the soft light of my desk lamp. I opened it carefully, my hands trembling. The PC, Philip, gleamed despite its age, the gold case holding a faint patina of years gone by. At first glance, it appeared to be just another luxury watch from the 1940s, but I knew better. My father wouldn't have kept something so fiercely guarded if it were truly broken. I spent hours that first night, inspecting every inch of the case, looking for something out of place. The craftsmanship was flawless, too flawless for something that had supposedly stopped working long ago. When I opened the back of the case, the movement inside was pristine, almost as if it had been serviced recently. Why would you pretend this was broken, Dad? I whispered, adjusting my magnifying loupe to study the mechanism more closely. What were you hiding? That's when I saw it, something subtle but deliberate in the engraving pattern inside the case back. It wasn't a mistake, it was intentional. My heart pounded as I reached for my finest tools. If I was right, this wasn't just a watch, it was a puzzle, a locked box that could only be opened by someone who truly understood the art of horology. As I worked through the night, carefully unlocking hidden levers and delicate mechanisms, I couldn't stop thinking about my father. He had never supported my passion for watches. In fact, he had done everything in his power to discourage me from opening my own shop. Yet, he had left me this, his most secretive and cherished possession. Finally, just as the first light of dawn began creeping into my workshop, I heard a soft click. A hidden compartment within the case back sprung open, revealing a piece of paper, yellowed with age and folded neatly. With trembling fingers, I unfolded it. The message inside was written in my father's unmistakable, precise handwriting: for the daughter who sees beyond the surface, follow these coordinates. What you find there will change everything. I stared at the numbers, my mind spinning. The coordinates led to a location in the Swiss Alps, an area my father had frequented for business meetings, always alone, always secretive. Just then, my phone buzzed. A text from Marcus: hope you're enjoying your worthless inheritance, sis. Board meeting tomorrow to make me CEO officially. Don't worry, I'll take good care of Dad's legacy. I glanced back at the coordinates, then at the watch that had revealed them. My father had built his empire on secrets, that's what everyone always said. But what if his greatest secret wasn't locked up in his company? What if it was hidden away in the Swiss Alps, waiting for someone smart enough to uncover it, and he had chosen me to find it? Without hesitation, I opened my laptop and booked a flight to Switzerland. Marcus could have his millions, his CEO title, and his legacy. I had coordinates to follow, and something told me that what lay ahead was worth far more than any amount of money. Little did I know, I was about to uncover a truth that would shake the very foundation of our family. The Swiss Alps stood before me, their snow-capped peaks cutting through the morning mist. After a grueling 14-hour flight and a treacherous drive along winding mountain roads, I finally arrived at the coordinates. I double-checked my GPS. The location pointed to an old watchmaking workshop nestled in the small village of Grindelwald. The building appeared abandoned, its windows covered in dust, its wooden sign faded and almost unreadable. Horloguri Weber, I muttered, reading the name etched on the sign. My father mentioned this once, years ago. He caught me reading about vintage watchmaking techniques, and when I asked him about it, he quickly changed the subject. But I saw something flicker across his face. Was it fear? The door was locked. But something about the keyhole caught my eye. It wasn't modern, it was intricate, antique, almost identical to my father's watch. My hands shook slightly as I removed the crown from the watch. It fit perfectly into the lock. The door creaked open, revealing a workshop frozen in time. Wooden benches lined the walls, covered in tools and unfinished timepieces. Everything was coated in a layer of dust, except for one thing. In the center of the room stood a massive safe, its surface gleaming as though it had been recently maintained. On the door was a complex mechanism that looked more like the intricate workings of a watch than any traditional lock I had ever seen. "Oh, Dad," I breathed, "what were you hiding here?" Before I could examine the safe further, I heard footsteps behind me. I turned to find an elderly man standing in the doorway, his sharp eyes taking in every detail of my presence. "So," he said in heavily accented English, "Henry's daughter finally arrives. We've been waiting a long time for you, Olivia." I stepped back, startled. "Who are you? How do you know my name?" The man smiled, walking into the room with a calm confidence. "I am Klaus Weber. Your father and we had an arrangement. He knew this day would come." My mind raced. "Weber, the same name as the shop sign? My father never mentioned you." "No, he wouldn't have," Klaus said, running his hand along one of the dusty workbenches, "just as he never told you the truth about how he really built his fortune." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a watch, identical to the one my father had left me. "Your father wasn't just a businessman, Olivia, he was part of something much bigger, something that started right here in this workshop, 70 years ago." For the next hour, Klaus unraveled a story that shattered everything I had believed about my family, about my father, and about the legacy he had left behind. The watch my father had left me wasn't just a timepiece, it was a key to unlocking the hidden truth about Weber and Turner, the empire he had built. In 1952, Klaus's father and my grandfather had stumbled upon something revolutionary, a watchmaking technique capable of creating mechanisms of precision beyond anything the world had ever seen. But instead of patenting it, they kept it hidden, using it to craft special timepieces for powerful people who needed to synchronize events across the globe. "Your father didn't build his fortune through normal business," Klaus explained, his voice steady but heavy with history. "He built it by becoming the keeper of time itself. Every major business deal, every global transaction that required precision over the last 30 years, all of them depended on our watches." My mind was reeling, but why keep it secret? Why not patent the technology? Klaus's face darkened, because what we created wasn't just about keeping time, it was about controlling it. These watches, when synchronized, can create moments, microseconds, where time seems to stop. Think of the power that gives someone in charge of global finance, military operations, or anyone who needs to be first when milliseconds can mean millions. I couldn't help but think of Marcus, sitting in his new CEO office, believing he had control over everything. He had no idea that the true power behind Weber and Turner was hidden in this dusty, forgotten workshop. Your father knew you were the only one he could trust with this, Claus continued. He saw how you built your business from the ground up, how you understood the soul of watchmaking, not just its profits. That's why he left you the watch. It's not just a key to this workshop, it's an invitation to join us. He moved toward the gleaming safe in the center of the room and began adjusting its complex mechanism. The question is, Olivia, are you ready to become a keeper of time? The safe door opened with a soft hiss, revealing rows of watches, each one identical to the one my father had left me, each one a key to powers most people couldn't even begin to imagine. But more than that, there were documents, blueprints, and records that revealed the truth of how Weber and Turner had built its empire, not through business, but through the control of time itself. At that moment, my phone buzzed again. Another text from Marcus. Just wrapped up my first board meeting as CEO. Making lots of changes around here. Shame you won't be around when your little watch shop gets bought out and demolished next month. I looked at Claus, then at the safe filled with secrets. What exactly are you offering? Partnership, he replied simply. Your father shared in the true Weber and Turner, the one your brother knows nothing about, the one that controls time. I thought about all the years I'd spent trying to prove myself to my family, and now, finally, I realized that my father had been preparing me for something far bigger than running a business. He had been grooming me for this moment, the moment when I would inherit not just a company, but a legacy, a power unlike anything Marcus could ever dream of. When do we start? I asked. Claus's lips curved into a knowing smile as he gestured to the workbench. We already have, but first, I think you've got a board meeting to attend. 2 weeks later, I walked into the Weber and Turner headquarters for another board meeting. Marcus was seated at the head of the table, proudly discussing his plans to modernize the company. He looked up, a sneer crossing his face when he saw me. Come to beg for a job, he mocked. Maybe we can find something for you in maintenance, fixing broken watches. I smiled and pulled out a stack of documents, copies of everything I'd found in Claus's safe. Actually, I'm here for a different kind of maintenance of the truth about how this company really operates. Marcus's face drained of color as he read the first page. Our mother, sitting quietly beside him, gasped. You can keep your CEO title, Marcus, I said, my voice calm but unwavering, but from now on, you'll answer to the Real Board of Directors, the one that controls time itself. I walked out of that meeting not as the daughter who had inherited a broken watch, but as the keeper of my father's greatest secret. Marcus got his millions, but I inherited something far more valuable. The power to control time. Sometimes, the greatest treasures aren't measured in money, but in microseconds, and sometimes, a broken watch is exactly what you need to fix everything. That evening, as I returned to Claus's workshop, I took out my father's watch, my watch now, and smiled. In the end, he had given me exactly what I deserved, not a fortune, but a future, and now, finally, time was on my side.